Okay, so come closer. If you'll notice, there's about 13 liters, or that is approximately, well, it's more than that. There's about 13 quarts of water in there, which is almost, we're at about the 3-gallon point. And so I'm going to heat this up, but like I said, I want to heat it up to preheat it. We're getting ready to turn the oven on and like that, but I just wanted you to look in there and see that. We're back. Okay, so here's what you need to do. These are the bones right here, bones, and there's probably, what do you think, John? There's, we decided there's maybe 10 or 12 pounds there. You think there's that much?
We throw in the other meat, definitely.
Okay, well, these are the bones. I'm going to coat them with olive oil, and I'm just going to pour this on here like this, and then I'm just going to rub it around, and I want to coat them, and it's just to protect it during the cooking process in the oven, which isn't going to be terribly long. The oven right now is preheating to 500 degrees. We want it ripping hot in order to do this part. So don't get paper in there. And these are the bones that we bought the other day from that place, Jeff. And I'm just going to coat them all, and then in a minute we're going to slide them in the oven.
I told you I like concentrated alcohols, not these pansy 4.5 beers.
Okay, so we're ready to put the bones into the oven. It's preheated to 500 degrees, and I'm just going to slide them in there like such. You know, I don't know how long this is going to take, but that's the time. That's the time. So anyway, I don't know how long this is going to take, but they need to be brown. I will come back in another video and talk a little bit about the browning of the bones, but for the time being, now they're going to take the bones out. It's probably been quite long, or not quite long enough, but it's damn hot in here. This whole renovation thing sucks my booty. But anyway, here you go. So, well, maybe not. Those look pretty good. So you want to pull these out of here. Be careful and don't burn yourself, because there's a lot of fat that's rendered out. Okay, so I'm going to take some tongs, and I'm just going to start putting these into this pot here. This water is nearly boiling, and I'm just going to take some tongs, and I'm going to start carefully dropping these into the water. Now, the reason that we did this, the reason that I brought the water up to that temperature before I put these in, is because if you don't, it's possible to close up the pores of the bone, and so it doesn't, the bone will hold on to all of that collagen and all the stuff you want out of there, and it kind of seizes it up. So it's like going from cold to hot real fast. So if you bring the temperature up like that, if you're roasting them, you can save yourself that trouble. So I'm just going to put the rest of these in there, and we're just going to bring this up to a boil. It's on high, and I'm going to bring this up to a rolling boil. And when it gets a rolling boil, then we'll start another process of skimming and stuff. So one thing about this business of roasting bones, you don't have to roast the bones, but it makes for a tastier stock, I think. If you don't want that element in there, that is just fine. Take the bones, just raw like they were, put them in the water, and bring the water and the bones up together to that rolling boil, and then cook just like normal. So the roasting part is not absolutely necessary, but I think it tastes better. I lied. So one last thing before we sign off here for this time. This is going to, as this boils down and as this does what it's going to do, the only thing that you need to consider is don't beach the bones. Don't let those bones come up. As long as you have enough water in there, you won't have to add any more, and this will boil down. And we'll probably lose a good gallon or more of water in all of this. But just don't beach the bones. And if you happen to, and it looks like they're going to come up, then you'll need to put some more water over the top. Boil the water first before you put it in. You might have noticed I didn't put any vegetables into this stock. I've learned over the years not to put it in until the end. So what we're going to do is cook this stuff down until, for like I said, the 16 or 20 hours or whatever it is that we need to cook it down. And then the last 2 hours or so, I'm going to come back and I'm going to put the vegetables in, which is the classic mirepoix, which is carrots. There's 2 or 3 or 4 in that one, an onion or 2, a few cloves of garlic, some cracked peppercorns, and that's the classic mirepoix. And then on top of that, we're going to add a bay leaf, some thyme probably, and maybe some Italian flat leaf parsley or something like that. But we'll get to that. But just so you know, we don't put it in yet. We let it cook down and cook down and cook down, and then towards the end, that's when we put the vegetables in because the flavor ends up being better. Okay, here it is bubbling away. I've got a flashlight on it so you can kind of see. That's what you want to see. It's kind of acting like, see there's a kind of fat layer that's up on top of it, and it's just kind of bubbling away. That's that bare simmer I was talking about. It's real low. Anyway, we're approximately, we started this at a little bit after 6 or about 7, so we're about 3 hours in. Back. So it's been several hours since this has been boiling. We're going to add the vegetables now. Here are the vegetables. See if I can, right here, like so. And I've also taken the stock and I've brought it up to a rolling boil because whenever I add those vegetables in, it's going to take some of that temperature away. As you can see right here, if you can see that, it's reduced a good bit, several liters or a couple of liters by this point. So what I'm going to do is run through these vegetables real quick. I'm going to turn this around. So there is celery here. What I've done is taken, I like to take the middle stalks and get all the leaves and stuff because they have good flavor. So there's probably a total of, I mean, they're smaller stalks, but there's 3 to 4, maybe 3 bigger stalks of celery if you added it all up. There's about 4 medium-sized carrots here. There's this giant onion, and it was so big. Usually maybe there's 2 in there, but this one was so gigantic I just did the 1. This is thyme, and I need to be careful with that. That's a bundle. That may be a little bit much, but it'll overtake the stock if you put too much in. So about that for as much as I'm making, which is quite a bit. Garlic, there's probably 3 to 4 garlic cloves here. This is flat leaf parsley. I've taken an entire bunch of it, and I'm going to use the whole bunch to put it in there. This is cracked pepper. There's about 9 or 10 peppercorns. Right over here is bay leaf, and that is all going in, and it will continue to cook for another several hours. We're finished cooking. This has been on the stove. So yesterday we started it at about 6:30, and down here it's now, well, it was almost 7, so now it's 3:33. So we've been on the stove for good while. So I put the vegetables in earlier. They've been in for about they've been out for about 3 hours, and they are done. They have given up the ghost. So I'm going to start pulling all of this stuff out, and I'm just going to put it in this bowl that I've got lined with a piece of plastic, and that makes it easier to throw it away. So I'm going to fish all this out of here. I'm going to fish all the bones out of here, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to strain. I fished all the stuff out, as you can probably see right there. And we're getting ready to strain. So what you're going to need to do, you need either some cheesecloth, and what I've found over the years, the best thing that works for me, I found those organic cotton flour sack kitchen towels. I got these at Williams-Sonoma. I think they're $15 and you get 3 of them. But the nice thing about them is that you can wash them again and again, and so these are ones I haven't used, and this is the towel that I use for my straining of the stock. So I'm going to take it out of here, and what I'm going to do, and you just wash it, and you can use bleach and stuff, but I'm going to take it over here, and I've got a pot in the sink here that is big enough to hold what's left that's not boiled off, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to at least double it up, and maybe even triple it up to get all of that particulate out of that stock. So we'll be back in a second when we're actually. Now, if you'll remember and look back on the other videos, the water was way up here at nearly 16 liters, and now we're down to somewhere around 10 or so. So quite a bit of it has cooked off. Most of the big stuff's out, and so now I'm just going to carefully pour this in. You do it over the sink, because if you spill, and you will, and then I also have a apron on. So it's going to take a second, so we'll be back in a second once we've got it all strained out now. And if you'll look down here, you'll see that there's quite a bit of stuff left over. And as you go, this will slow down, obviously, because it's getting clogged up. So if you'll take like a spoon or something and just do this, it'll help make room, and it'll all drain out, and then you'll kind of come to the end of it. So the rest of that is basically just is mostly fat. So I'm going to stop right there because that's plenty. and put this over here. And so there's what you're left with. I overflowed a little bit and got some herbs in there, but that's fine. So in just a second here, I'm going to move this back over to the stove, and I'm going to bring it up to a boil, and I'm going to reduce it down because we're still nearly 3 gallons here with this, which is a little bit much because whenever you start storing it and you put it in the refrigerator, if you put that all in 1 cup or even 2 cup portions, it's going to eat your freezer space up, and you don't want to do that. So we can reduce it down, and then when you end up using it, you can dilute it down however much you think you need to. So we've got our strained stock on the oven here, and so as you can see, it's a rolling boil. And what I mean to do with this is I want to reduce this down because this pot is about, I think it's 16 quarts, which is 3 gallons. I'm going to reduce this probably by nearly half, so we end up with 1.5 gallons, maybe 2 gallons or so of leftover stock. But I'm going to be cooking this down. It's going to be steaming off, and so once this is done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in the sink with ice. I'm going to cool it down as quickly as possible, get it down to room temperature or colder, and then I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, and we're going to leave it there overnight, and then we'll pick up whenever we're done with that. Okay. So as you can see, we've reduced this down. It's not quite a half of what it was, but I felt like it was fine, and that would work out. Just because I know. So anyway, I've put it on ice. As you can see, it's sitting in the sink, and I, put the stopper down in there and put a bag of ice, and then ran some water in because we want to get this cooled off as quickly as possible. Get it down below 40, or there's kind of a magic place where little beasties grow, and so we want to get it down below. Get it down to 40 degrees or so as quickly as possible. So this is going to go down. You may need to stir it every so often to kind of circulate, and then after that I'll just put it in the refrigerator, and it'll be in the refrigerator till tomorrow when we'll come back and we'll come back and get all that fat off the top, and then at the end of our stock making odyssey here. So we've strained off the stock. I boiled it down like I showed you last night. We cooled it off in the sink, and it's been put in the fridge, and so now it's been in the fridge for well over 12 hours, and it's completely cool. And so here's what we ended up with. You can see in there's all that fat that's formed on top, and so now what we have to do is kind of skim this off. And usually the fat layer on a beef stock is pretty significant because there's more fat in there than, say, in a chicken. So I'm just going to come around and do this, and begin pulling this up and off of here. You could probably use a glove and just a gloved hand and reach down in there and pull it off, but I don't have a glove right off the top of my thing right now. So I'm just going to take and put this in there like so, and once I get this all off of here, we'll come back and I'll show you what we do with it after that. So if you look down in here and see, you're not going to get all the fat off of there, but you see how stiff that is? It's pretty jello-y, and so what I'm going to do is start pulling this out of here, and these are 1 cup sized, those kind of Ziploc disposable Tupperware things. And so I'm going to just scoop in here, and that's about this is a cup size. See how that is right there? That's about kind of where you want it. And at that stiffness, what you would do is this would equal maybe 1 serving, maybe 1.5. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up all these cups, and then I'll put lids on them and then freeze them. And then after you're done freezing them, when you pull them out, you would dilute this down with. I would dump this into the pot, and then I would put 1 thing of water like this in with it to dilute it down, and that will take it down to a pretty unctuous and satisfying stock, and that would equal 2 cups, which is roughly a serving size. You could certainly serve it like this. It would be even more, have a different kind of mouthfeel, still equally delicious. You could dilute it down even further if you wanted, if you were doing something else with it, but it's all up to you. But this about right here is where I like to get it. If it's not quite this jelly down like you're seeing here, if it's not quite that jelly, maybe it's a little bit less, then your dilution goes down. But it's purely a matter of preference at some point. So anyway, there you go. I'm going to fill the rest of these up, and maybe we'll come back and cook some up and see how it tastes and turns.